Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Goosebumps HorrorTown, the Halloween special of 2021, the only new update that happened here. And welcome back. This may be our first, probably maybe last of the Crafting 101. It's been a while, and a bit rusty since 9 months or so. So let's go ahead and see if I can't get this going. This update is going to be, or I should say this video, is going to be here just to let you know what you're dealing with when it comes to this update, and then what to expect as far as when it comes to this whole thing goes. So, the grand prize this time around is something called the Wonderland, which is this, not to be confused by an actual theme park of the same name, which is funny because there was a Canada Wonderland up here, I think in Ontario somewhere. I think near close to Toronto. I don't know. Yeah, there's a lot of different Wonderlands, let's just put it that way. And yeah, just me going into depth with you and how this whole event's supposed to go here. And that's basically it. I think my in-game self will go on more in depth with what to expect and give you the rundown as far as video content and whatnot. So let's just go ahead and dive right in, shall we?
Hello, player. I want to play a game. This game in particular is that of HorrorTown, the newest update for Goosebumps, that being Halloween. Yeah, very generic name, but you know what? The update itself is much well-deserved, or much appreciated because of the lack of content. So, I might as well do this little video here to explain to you how you too can get the grand prize, which is Wonderland, which is this decoration scare scene decor that drops about 80 plus. I'm not sure exactly how much it is going to be need, but I might as well go ahead and talk to you about what is required. Just slightly adjusting myself here, so let's talk about this. So this event is a bit odd because it's a little bit lighter than how we usually see this stuff going, but it makes my life a little bit easier. But this video is just basically talking to you about how this update's gonna go, when it ends, what you can expect. So let's go ahead and talk about what is required. So you need the Wonder Pop, the Wonder Bar, and the Wonder Mallow. It's a marshmallow, but it's mallow. The Wonder Mallow. Alright, fine, whatever. You know what I'm trying to refer to, right? So both these three candies are the basic candies that get dropped. And what you'll notice is that there's many ways to get these, so although they're like requiring you to get 30 of these, they're going to be ridiculously easy. The reason why is because there's a bunch of stuff there. I'll talk about the first item in a little bit, but for now, you know, this might as well talk. Just keep in mind, some of the characters that are doing stuff like this, they're not really useful to do anything. I'm just kind of doing this to just kind of have the setting for Halloween be appropriate. So yeah. Another thing, Walter has an error. He has an error when it comes to one of his things, which is celebrate Halloween at Dark's house. I believe this was supposed to be him going to Mrs. Dark's house, but because there's no little house here, he just disappears. So maybe that could be something that can fixed in the later future, but whatever. So first things first, how can you get some of the items, or the three items that is required? Well, let's go ahead and look at that now. So first thing is the decorations. What you'll notice when we come into my little area here, which is the preview area, a lot of the items are being dropped by these decorations. In fact, if you were to go to the shop here, you'll notice that most of the new items, the lollipop fence, the chocolate bush, the lollipop plant, the candy tree, the donut tree, and the cherry tree, all drop one of the three items out of randomly. Now,
this is the interesting part because I think one of these three things are going to be a little bit harder to get, and I'll explain why that might be, but most of these are going to be easy to drop, and then you'll get one of the three items here. So it's basically random of what exactly you're going to be looking for. Now, as you come to expect, certain characters will drop certain items, but you'll notice that some of these characters are not going to drop as much items as you would like them to, because there's only about 6 characters really that drops any of these items. 3 kids and 3 adults, and each one of them will drop something in particular. So, for example, Lucy over here will drop you a lollipop, whereas if you look at Mrs. Dark, she is also someone who will help drop you a lollipop. So these are the only 2 that will drop you a lollipop. Now there's something else here I'll look at. When you go to Dustin, he'll help you with the Wonder Bar. Right there, when he does his trick-or-treating, which is about every 3 hours and 15 minutes for everything. And then when you go over to Mrs. Mare, go over here, she will help you with tasting a tree, will give you the Wonder Bar. Now in order to get this going, you will need the candy or cotton candy tree put down. Again, most of the decorations are cheap except for a handful of one, which are going to be the K. So basically we're looking at something of a Phantom of the Auditorium situation where the event itself is not going to be hard because of the actual crafting required. It's going to be the currency that's going to be what kills you, because there are certain key items that is needed that's going to be high. Now, one of these ones I was talking about that's going to be hard is items that is the the marshmallows, because the ones that can do that is Marty and Mr. Mortman. Marty is interesting because in order to have him do that, you'll need the residential, like the actual high-leveled one. Because if you go over here, they want the family residence in order to do this, and unfortunately, as you can see, it's worth 15 of the goose bucks. It's a bit pricey, especially since it's a premium item rather than, say, one of the 2 items here, which is the small residence or the couple's residence. But who knows? They might, after the fact, after this video, they may change this so that it may go into small couple's residence. We've seen this happen before in the past, so it's very possible that we can see this happen again for this point here. And the other one is Mr. Mortman, and as you can see, Mr. Mortman is not highlighted because the item he needs in order to use it, because it is an animation, is the candy pool. And this is one of the harder items that you're going to be obtaining, because in order to get the candy pool, which is at the very end, it's about 150 of the new currency, which is the golden coins, or the chocolate coins. So yeah, and the other character, new character, will also need this item for one of her animations, but again, unfortunately, that seems to be a bit harder to do, because again, in order to do this, you have to play through the events and then sell some stuff here. My advice is, because you're not going to be needing the higher leveled items, you can just sell them. It seems like that's what they want you to do, is to sell the higher level items to get coins, because they seem to be worth a lot more than, say, the normal items. So there's 4 craftable items, one of them in the Monster Diner, which is the Monster Pops. In order to do that, you'll need to get yourself Roach's Snacks and the Candy Stash, which is one of the items that is craftables in the Mini Mysteries Club. So let's take a look into that there. So the 3 items for the Mini Mysteries Club is the Candy Pile, which is one of each of these. The Candy Stash, which is 2 of the candy piles and 3 of the containers, or the, the tin can telephones, which is easy to grab. And then we got the Hazard Test, which requires 2 of the Candy Stash, but then also the expended folders. Now, that being the case, the expended folders are going to be a bit difficult to get. Again, you'll probably only need this for the hazard tests, only for like quest lines, and if you want to sell them for, to get the coins per se. Other than that, I think it's going to be not too hard to kind of deal with and do. And yeah, it seems pretty straightforward. Now, I might as well, before I talk about the characters, I might as well go in here. They also did throw in 3 of these characters back into the game. Most likely because these characters, most of them would drop you some sort of candy item. So I thought the purpose of this was like, oh, they throw in candy. So, of course, they'd be brought back, right? Now, the last year's decorations, both the Jacko Crow and the Jacko Home, has returned. But what's weird is that the treatery, the last year's scene, has returned back, except it's now a home, adds 3 more extra people, and you need 3,800 of the coins, or this event's currency, in order to get it. And it's weird to say that because this is the actual crafting scene used for the trick or trap from last year. So you can take this as my word. I'm not going to say whether or not this is the case because they have done this in the past. If this game ever does bring back the trick or trap as a special book, then getting this with you may actually help you play through the event without having to go through the book. So you can look at that as you will. I don't think it really does anything except it kind of looks cool to have, but again, it's just something to kind of think about. Now, I'll talk about the main character. I'll talk about the main character now before I actually do anything else. So the new character that just got added is that of the Mrs.Eakins, I believe is what they pronounce her name is, Eakins. Yeah, Mrs.Eakins. So, this lovely lady, as you can see, if you do invest into her, because unfortunately she is a super premium character, in other words, she is a bundle premium character only, and I think we can pretty much know why that might be. But, yeah, she can help you with, most of their animations are actually, quests or animations. You do need the candy pool in order to get the monster pops, though. But as you'll notice, if you do invest in her, all the new crafting items from the Many Mysteries Clubs, as well as the Monster Diner, you can get from her here. And basically she helps you with all that stuff, so you don't have to bother with crafting, and it helps you with the event as it was. Now, if you're wondering if you should invest into her, I do want to point something out that might pique your interest. She has she has a quest here called Order More Chemical W, which you probably know what that is because that was from one of the other seasons, one of the other events. But notice here she drops this, which is a map. She is the only character as of now that drops you one of the treasuries. The map, the acrobats, and the compasses. Which tells me she might, and don't quote me on this, but she might drop one of the 3 as well. I don't think this is a mistake. I think this is just some sort of incentive to have you kind of want to buy her. Because normally people will be questioning, oh, why would I want to buy her? Why? So this is probably one of the ways they're doing it, is this justifying, is instead of randomly hoping that you might get maps, you now have a character that guarantees you the maps. So that might be something you might be looking into if you have maps troubles. Help you expand your little area over here, which I'm gonna wait to clear that during my parts, so I'm leaving that there. But yeah, so for example, I the maps are the least of my troubles. That one I can get a lot of, so yeah, she's not as useful to me, but hey, I do this because I like to help other people, and for my own sake, because people like watching these videos, so assisting them in this way helps me out as well. I don't know what happened to the loading thing over here. Hopefully, yeah, okay, now it's back. Right. If you're wondering why this is looking like the way it does, it's just because this is my little event scenery area where I basically show off all the new items, and then later on I move them to their proper home. So, now let's talk about one of the harder things you're going to get. Now, you've seen the one is like 100 and something, right? Well, you notice I didn't talk about this, the full moon fever. And one of the little details I found interesting is that the water actually looks like a moon, so very clever. But you'll notice you need to play the Wonder Candy Factory scene. Now, normally, the scene is seen in the promenade area, which they mentioned this in the quest line. I don't know why, but okay. Yeah, but as you can see, the promenade is no longer being used, and I think it's probably going to be staying that way. If other games are moving to this new set, it seems like this game might do the same, especially with the crafting and all that stuff. So, what exactly then do you get the scene? You get the scene in here, right there, as you can see. But there's a problem with that, because in order to get the scene, you are going to be requested to get almost 4,000 of the thing. This is probably the most expensive one, with this being the second. So your best interest is to focus your attention on trying to get this here, because that's going to be the challenge. These other three stuff here is not going to be hard. Even this, this item here, not a problem. You'll probably get this fine. It's this that's going to be an issue, because not only is it going to be hard to get this through the normal means, but then you also have to craft and get this through here. And this is where you might consider whether or not you want to partake. Because in order to get a good enough currency, you'll need Mrs.Eakins as well, because she helps justify with one of the monsters as being spawned here, which is the Candy Fiend, is what I like to refer to them as. So, in order to summon this properly, you need 4 characters. You need Lucy, Dustin, Marty, which are going to be needed for the quest anyways, and then surprisingly, you also need Evan. Now, both of these 4 characters are featured in the quest line, in the storyline. Evan is the only one who's not, for some reason. Now, as you'll notice, if you only have all these 3, you get a drop rate of 35%, and it does this every 3 hours. And unfortunately, this takes the currency over here, which is the coins. So that leaves you with, if I'm doing my math, should leave you with 24. So that would be 33. I think 33? Yeah, 33. So that's yeah, I think. I might be wrong with my math, but yeah, it's a bit of a chunk of change, so oof. But yeah, if you do have Eakins though, she can summon the monster for 50%, and you can probably save yourself this here to get you 50-50 on the monster. But then if you get all of them, then you have a more higher chance with the 85%. So that is the difficult part here, that you have to think about whether or not you want to continue to do this stuff. Now, if you do, there is a bundle for both Eakins and the Wonder Park, separate, unfortunately, but I don't think it's as much, and they give you some items as well to help you with the events, as it were. Again, marketing-wise, it's kind of hard because this game's been off for almost 9 months now, so it's kind of like trying to readjust everything back and to say, more or less kind of like, oh, this sucks and whatnot, but basically, and this is what I'm saying here when I kind of did the beginning of like, oh, I want to play a game type of thing, and my beginning spiel, I'm being serious when I say this. This could very well be the last event we ever get, depending on how people react to this and how people partake, because I've seen a lot of people wanted to come back into the game, like, oh, finally we're getting back. But and this is something to keep a note of. The day when this ends, you might be curious, but before I get there, that's the items you need. So you basically need the scene and then the 3 items here, which are easy. So mostly, depending on if you're going to invest into this, this should be fine. The item itself looks pretty okay. Like, it doesn't look too sparkly. I'm not sure how expensive or how big this thing is, but it looks interesting enough. But hey, at worst, you can always watch my videos to see how this looks and see whether or not it was well worth not avoiding. And well, maybe we might be lucky. Maybe if you stick around near the end, it might glitch out and you might get it for free, right? So if you really want this item but you don't want to get to the hassle, you could wait until the very end in order to buy it outright, like I've shown in the past, and Goosebumps or In Closet the Goosebumps fan does as well, to kind of show off. So when does this event end? Now, this is surprising because most of the time when events like this end, it ends the beginning of the next month, but not this one. This one's going to end exactly on Halloween night at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Now, why exactly is it going to end on Halloween night? You might be asking yourself. Well, this is because it's an important date. Because after Halloween ends, it goes into November, that's when all the statistic numbers as far as revenue and download goes will be made available. And this is going to be something to be looking into. So after this event ends, most likely Pixowl is going to be taking a look and reviewing whether or not it would be worth their while to continue with this update. If it makes a certain number that they're looking for, then the chances are we'll probably hear sometime in November that yes, this game is going to be continuing on in a new style, a new way, probably within the whole Battle Pass thing, more or less. I don't know. But if not, then we'll know for sure if this is going to be indeed the very last story we'll ever get in this game. But whether or not, leave it here. I will be here to let you know otherwise, and we'll be continuing to cover this game as much until I get all the content ends. So I still have videos to go through for the end of the year at least, so that's something to look forward to, I guess. We'll let it slide as much as we can. So, if you care for this game, perhaps maybe take some time to play around and maybe invest into something. It's something to look into, but the reality is, we're in a predicament where because this game's been going on for a little while now, the IP holder is wanting some sort of financial gain. And in order to justify it with the small team they have to look at and cut certain things back. So a lot of games like this ends up going through this phase. I've seen this happen to The Simpsons Tapped Out, Family Guy: The Quest for Stuff. This is an inevitability. All the games are going to end up doing something like this in the near future. It's just whether or not you would want to have this game come back in a more cut down tone like it was before, but a little bit better and fleshed out, or do you want this game just to die? At the end of the day, it's like the game of Jigsaw. Live or die, right? So, it is all up to you. But until then, I've been Grim, and I hope you enjoy this update. Wish you luck on this, and let me know if anything down below. Oh, wait. Before I forget, there is one last thing. I'll end it off on a somewhat joyous note. This is because of some big boo-boos. So, as you probably noticed, during the game's low period, we're able to make some content as far as when it comes to fixes and whatnot goes. And because of this, they somehow oversaw and forgot certain things. And this could be used to your benefit. Namely, if you ended up playing through last year's event. Now, although characters like, say, Marcus and, Susie and all that stuff, like even the new character of, like, Nightwing is not really popular, or not really, I wouldn't say really popular, but I mean, like, is not useful for this event, for this particular one. There are two characters that are, that being Santa and my boy Reggie. Why is that, you might be saying, Grim? Well, because, whoops, they forgot to take off the currency bell from the last event they were fought in. So, if you happen to have good old Santa Claus and Reggie,
have him do Jingle Bell Rock, and for Reggie over here, have him go into hiding, or he has another task you can do, so... But both of these characters just drop, like, the Santa pick, so, like, drop, yeah, either they hide or they call the mayor. But, yeah, they'll help you get the event currency coins, so, you know what, use this glitch to your advantage, so that's how you can get back at the man. So, yeah, use this to your advantage, but, yeah, I don't know how else to end this. This is kind of a weird one to end, especially since it's been so long since I've done this. I'm happy that I've got to be able to do this again, but I'm also somewhat optimistic in the sense of this could very well be the end of it. This could be the end of it in the sense of whether or not this is going to be the last time I get to do this, or is this going to be the last time I get to do this in this type of format, and something new will come along, and that's when I'll do it like that. We'll end up having to wait and see together. We only know after this event ends what the fate of this game is. So, wish you luck. Hope this this little video is informative to you, and hope it helps out. But other than that, I've been Grim, and I'll be seeing you next time for whatever Goosebumps HorrorTown has in store for us. So until then, live or die. Make your choice.